Our political parties have until 9 p.m. this evening to submit their candidate list for those intending to contest the local government elections and to pay the prescribed election deposits. Let's discuss some of these issues with some of the parties, and we'll also look at their state of readiness. I'm joined this afternoon by Canaan Mdletshe, the NFP's Secretary General, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, the IFP's spokesperson, and Ganief Hendricks from Jama-Ah. He is the party leader there. Gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. Perhaps let me start with you, Mr. Mdletshe. Have you submitted any names as yet to the IEC?
Good afternoon, Tammy, and thank you for having us as National Photo Party. Yes, we have submitted some names. Actually, we are 95% done with our nominations, and it's just we are now finalizing the few loose ends here and there, but we have submitted and we have paid the deposit on time, so we are ready as the National Freedom Party.
And Mr. Hendricks, what's the status quo regarding you and Jama-Ah?
Look, we are 100% done. We set a target of 10 o'clock this morning. We managed to sort everything out by 2 o'clock, and I would like to say that the election deposit payment system and the candidate nomination system of the IEC was top class. We had no problems. And then at the same time, we had direct links. We could phone someone, and within a minute, they picked up the phone. So everything went very smoothly. And I'm happy to say that we submitted 100% of our PR candidates and our ward councillors.
And Mr. Hlengwa, what is the situation with the IFP?
No, the IFP is all systems go. We have paid the deposit and we have submitted the candidates in all the wards and municipalities we intend on contesting throughout the country. And we do this, of course, to comply with the IEC timeline, notwithstanding the fact that we are amicus curiae in the Constitutional Court in the matter for the elections to be postponed given the health considerations around COVID-19. However, we respect the democratic project of South Africa, and we fully understand that we need to be readily available for the people of South Africa in these elections to ensure effective and efficient and functional service delivery, and our track record where we govern actually speaks to this, and we want to expand that. So as far as the IFP is concerned, if the elections continue, it is all systems go on our side, and we will comply fully with whatever the Constitutional Court's directive and judgment is.
Mr. Hendricks, what were some of the challenges that you faced as a party in getting ready, considering that this is quite a tumultuous time in the sense that it's quite unstable, no set answers as yet, and still so much hinges on the courts?
Yes, look, there was a lot of uncertainty, and, it is not a good thing to pay your deposits knowing very well there's a possibility that it will be refunded. It messes up your financial systems. So that is a problem. Also, there may be an opportunity to extend the elections because, as you know, there was no registration weekend, and many of those who would have liked to be candidates, they never had the opportunity to register. Some people moved from Cape Town to Port Elizabeth to Gauteng, and it wasn't possible for them to be on the correct segment of the voters' roll. So that was a problem, and we then had to find replacement candidates for some of our top people. So that has been one of the challenges, and it's the fact that the IEC failed to hold a voter registration weekend. They normally have 2 or 3 before an election. This time they didn't even have 1. So that has been a problem, and some disappointed candidates who've been working very hard, they can't contest if the elections is going to carry on the 24th of October.
So how does that, Mr. Hlengwa, affect, I guess, those within your party who may also be disappointed candidates because the process couldn't run as it usually would have run?
No, we did actually set up a dispute resolution mechanism in the party to ensure that whilst we had to be flexible and adjust our internal processes, that as far as possible, our structures and membership were satisfied with the project, and we are quite happy in the manner in which the Conflict Resolution Committee has handled the matters, and members are satisfied. To the extent to which we have had to do reruns internally, we have actually done so to ensure that the structures are satisfied. And this is precisely part of the challenges that we face, in that the COVID-19 has had a direct impact even on the internal party processes, notwithstanding the impact it's had on the elections. Let me make one example. We were scheduled for a voter registration weekend, and that was postponed because of the adjustment in the levels in which we were at. And then the minister went on to actually proclaim the election. When she did that, she effectively closed the voters' roll, meaning that those people have now been left out. And so these are all the factors and variables that the Constitutional Court has to look at, because what must be understood is that elections are not an event. They are a process which begins with communities, political parties, and so on and so forth. And largely now, with each passing day, the elements of freeness and fairness have been compromised, and elections' integrity hinge on ensuring elections that are free and fair and free from fear.
You point out something quite important there, Mr. Hlengwa, and I'm going to pose this next question to you, Mr. Mdletshe, if you could respond to that. Mr. Hlengwa talks about the importance of the elections being free and being fair, and the fact that they are actually not an event, but it's an entire process that unfolds over a period of time. What are the kind of challenges that you faced within your own party in trying to get ready and in trying to meet these dates in the midst of uncertainty?
Definitely, the mere fact that the IEC could not have the registration weekend, it did compromise us a lot, because the people started questioning whether these elections are going to take place or not. And the fact that we have to conform to the regulations of COVID-19, it has also affected us a lot. We couldn't convene as many branch meetings as possible. Our nomination processes were in a way affected by the mere fact that we couldn't get as many of our members to come and nominate the candidates as possible. And it did affect us a lot. But as much as we have had no challenges, as the NFP, I think we are ready, and we have tried by all means to deal with even the manipulation of memberships here and there. And I think we will, at the end of the day, meet the deadline for the IEC, which is 9 p.m. tonight.
Mr. Hendricks, what do you feel about this process unfolding while the court bid is still in process?
Yeah, look, it is a lot of uncertainty, and you know that campaigning is now, after we've now paid our deposits and we have completed our nomination forms, the IEC will publish the names to find out if there are any objections, and then they will issue out.
Mr. Hendricks? Looks like we've lost our connection to Mr. Hendricks. Let me come to you, Mr. Hlengwa. In the event that the outcome of the Constitutional Court hearing, or if Parliament at some point has to get involved, whatever the outcome will be there, and if it does happen that elections actually don't take place in October, as is currently being planned for, what does that then mean for your candidates list? What does that mean for the monies that have already been paid to the IEC?
Well, the IEC will have to make a determination on that, but it should have been one election, and so the postponement does not affect the deposit. Insofar as the candidates that we have selected, those actually remain intact for us as a party, unless otherwise there is a need for change in that regard. And in the event that there are further appeals, which we do not anticipate insofar as our internal processes are concerned. Our only hope is that the Constitutional Court makes a determination as a matter of urgency, because there are implications for political parties here in that we have to spend as well. And we are uncertain as to whether we proceed with printing of posters, for example, to make one example, or not. And so with each passing day, we are held in limbo, really, on this matter. We do also, as the IFP, want to stress that this is not a matter we believe should go to Parliament, because for all intents and purposes, we're not seeking an amendment of the Constitution. We are seeking a postponement of the election. And why we don't want it to go to Parliament is that this is not a political matter. This is a legal matter, which we want to, and if you take it to Parliament, it becomes political football. And as you have seen, the varying position of political parties insofar as what the election might take place or not, that in itself indicates that there will be, differences. And also, there are questions of legality which we do need to comply with. Amongst those is the issue of the voters' roll. Is the IEC allowed to actually, open the window for registration of voting or not, insofar as the closed voter registration? So all these factors require experts, and they require the Constitutional Court to make a determination. If we're seeking an amendment, then sure, we would have certainly gone to Parliament. But we do not believe that Parliament is well placed and well positioned, because political parties will essentially become referees and players on a matter which affects them, much to the exclusion of other stakeholders who may want to make a contribution in terms of whether the elections should take place or not.
Mr. Mdletshe, if you could comment on that, on Mr. Hlengwa's point of view, do you believe that this is a matter that should go to Parliament, or that it should stay within the jurisdiction of the Constitutional Court?
No, definitely, I will agree with Mr. Hlengwa on that. This is not a parliamentary matter. It's a matter that should be dealt with at the Concord, and we are, as the NFP, hoping that the determination will be made sooner than later, so that we can start ensuring that we are finalizing all the loose ends that are still tightened up, and to ensure that we're able to even print the ballot papers. I mean, the names of the candidates, and go out there and post them. And because one of the challenges that we are faced with as organizations is the fact that we cannot start finalizing everything until the courts decide whether the elections will take place or not. So it's kind of a setback for political parties, but I totally agree with Mr. Hlengwa that this matter should be finalized by the Concord, and the decision should come out sooner than later. If possible, within the next 24 hours, we should know what's going to happen, whether the elections are going to take place or not, because going forth and back is it's not good for us as political parties, because we can't even campaign. We can't do actually anything except communicating with our members through WhatsApp and social media, which is not enough for us as a party that has got 90% of its membership coming from KwaZulu-Natal, who are illiterate, who want us to meet them face to face and engage them on a personal level.
So let me ask you, Mr. Hlengwa, should the elections be moved to February next year, will that affect your candidates list at all? You did mention earlier on that you're still 95% of the way, so you are still needing a little bit of time to get your ducks in a row.
Definitely it will affect our candidate list, because one of the principles that we have in the NFP is that our representation should be 40% young people, 40% women, and the minorities. As things are at the moment, we have not even reached half of that, and it will affect our preparations. But I think it would be better for us if the elections were postponed, so that we can finalize all the loose ends and get enough time to campaign